Good afternoon, everyone. It's James Carpenter with Country Living. I would like to talk a little bit about the cost of living compared to 1954. So that's the year I was born, 1954. So I've put together a list of prices for things in 1954. And obviously you know what these prices are like today. But in 1954, you could buy a new house, and these are averages, for $10,250. So $10,000 got you a house in 1954. Now it's $300,000. Big difference. The average income, $3,960, less than $4,000 a year. So when you hear these cheap prices, just know you weren't really making that much money either. So a new car on the average was $1,700. The average rent, and we all know what that's like today. The town I'm living in, rent is anywhere from $1,200 to $1,500 a month. But in 1954, it was $85 a month. And 20 years later in 74, the first apartment I ever had was $100 a month. So the rate of inflation really wasn't that bad. If you look at 20 years in 54, it was $85 a month, and by 74, again, the first apartment was $100 a month. Tuition at Harvard University, $800 a year. Now, if you're going to college, wouldn't you like to have a $800 for one whole year of tuition? It's unbelievable. Movie tickets, 70 cents. Now I want to talk about that because you guys know that my dad was stationed overseas, but we would go, my mom would drop us off on grocery day at the movie theater, give each one of us a silver quarter, and it was 10 cents to get in, and it was 15 cents for the popcorn and the drink. So a quarter got you all that on the military base. It looks like the civilians were paying about 70 cents for the movie. Gasoline, roughly $3.50, $4.50 a gallon, depending on the grade you use. 22 cents a gallon. A postage stamp, 3 cents, and that's first class. Granulated sugar, 85 cents for 10 pounds. That's a pretty good price. Vitamin D milk, 92 cents a gallon. Ground coffee, 78 cents a pound. Bacon, 57 cents a pound. Eggs, 26 cents a dozen. Ground hamburger, 55 cents a pound. And a loaf of bread, 17 cents. What do you think about those numbers? Obviously, the pay was less back then. The prices were lower. I actually feel that wages have definitely not kept up with pricing. It's pretty tough out there for everybody. The wages, they're just not going up. Like the inflation's taking the price of all the other goods that we purchase. It's not a good thing, but what can we do about it? The only thing we can do about it, like we talked about in yesterday's video, is to be as economical as possible when it comes to our money. Because the less you have, the less you're going to be able to spend and use. So basically, your wages keep you, basically, I'm going to say keep you down, depends on what your wages are. But I'm going to be honest with you, for what I found from my own experience, the more money you make, the more money you spend. And that's where I came up with that theory. You got to be careful about what you purchase. Do you really need it? Are you going to use it? What are you going to do with it in a couple of years? It's as much as things cost, you just don't want to be buying widgets and stuff. I'm not talking about people, but I honestly have seen people who are on Facebook asking for GoFundMe stuff, help me out with this, help me out with that. And then in the next post, they're getting their nails done. So wait a minute, I got a problem. You're begging for money, and then you're paying to get your fingernails done. That don't make sense to me. Take that money you was going to spend on the fingernails and use it for your GoFundMe project, whatever that might be. But I'm not ragging on people for that, but it's common sense. It really is. How you spend your money, where you spend your money, and how much money you make. And the less money you make, the more poverty you're going to be in. You know, instead of living in a housing complex, at best you live in a trailer park. Or you have a rundown house and other people have these $1 million homes. It all revolves around how much money you make, obviously, and how well you wisely spend that money is the way I'm going to put it. Because money, my dad used to say, money doesn't grow on trees. And that's a fact. It doesn't grow on trees. You know, we're living today in a world where you can make a lot of money just from a keyboard. There's people getting rich on internet sales and different things like that, or even a YouTube channel that's doing really well. Some of those other social medias, I believe, even pay people for content. So there's money to be made, and what you have to do is get the mind set that you're going to go out and seek that money. You're going to find ways to make that money, even if it means doing something on the side. Or for some people, unfortunately, I hate to see anybody have to work 2 jobs. But at the same time, through my lifetime, I didn't work 2 jobs, but I worked all the overtime. I got as much overtime as I could because my salary went up by 50%. And my paycheck went up at the end of the week. So I did a lot of overtime in my lifetime. Matter of fact, when I worked at the women's prison, I got accommodation from the warden. Her name was Mrs. Arn at the time. And it was for the amount of overtime I worked in 1 year. I guess they noticed that and wrote me up a nice little letter for that. But it wasn't because I was dedicated. I was dedicated to myself, and I could use the money, so I worked the overtime. And when you're working those types of jobs, the overtime is another 8-hour shift. So I did a lot of 16s. That's a long time to be at one location, but I was young. It was no problem. I could do it. And then, of course, I've talked about that Honda job. I worked a boatload of overtime there. I've just been a productive person my entire life. And today, here I am down here shooting this video, but I've been at my desk up at the auto repair shop. I've been up there all morning working on videos that are for the help section of the program that I've got on the market for accounting and finance. So work, work, work. At age 70, I'm still working. And again, I turned over all the finances to my son, and he tells me I'm on lockdown. And what he means by that is you're not spending any money. So for about the last year, I haven't been spending money, and it's unusual for me not to go out and just purchase things that I need. But he's keeping me on the straight and narrow, and I actually appreciate it. But at the same time, because of it, I'm pursuing all these other avenues to bring in income. And the accounting and finance program's one of them. And you can see what I'm doing if you go to returns with an S .solutions with an S. Now, a lot of the videos that are on there right now are ones that I did with my voice, and my voice is not the greatest. But here lately, they've come out with that AI, and I use it quite a bit, and then I turn whatever over to another program that does voiceover for me. So marketing and things like that are changing dramatically with this AI stuff. So far, I see it as a good tool for what I'm using it for, but I know in my heart, if it's misused, it can definitely be a bad tool. So we have to be careful about that, and we got to keep an eye on that. And other than that, it is a weekend. This video might be shorter than normal, but I at least wanted to make contact. I want to wish you guys a great rest of the weekend, and have a nice evening. Thank you.